Hi, I'm Ali and welcome to the China Repair Studio. So today I thought I would do a continuation from last week's rhino. So here he is. So he was actually missing a tip here, and in last week's video we did actually get some milliput, we shaped it and we stuck it back on with some glue and just blended it in with the fingers and then painted him gold. But I thought I'm going to go a stage further today, and I also want to show you a few different techniques which you can do. But before I do, if you haven't subscribed before, please subscribe, please like, and also please share. So here we have the rhino. Now, he isn't actually porcelain or china, he's not even a pottery, he's actually a resin. But by showing you these techniques, I just want to show you can use these techniques on other materials. So what we're going to do is we're slightly going to sand just where there might be one or two ridges here. And yes, there are no police on painting techniques, so you can do as you please. And so why not? So we are going to sand him slightly. And this is a comment I had from one of my subscribers who did actually ask, can you sand on previous bits of painting? If you've done something and you've sanded it and you've painted it and you can see one or two lines, can you just sand it and go over again? And absolutely, yes, you can. Obviously, if it's somebody else's painting you're sanding over, you're sanding, you don't actually know what's underneath it. That might be different, but if it's something you've done yourself, of course you can. So we're going to give him a bit of a sand first. So the sandpaper I use is from a German company, and this is it. Matador Wasserfest. Not very good at German. And anyway, it comes in lots of different sheets with lots of different sandpaper grades. I'm going to start with a 320, which is fairly coarse, not too coarse though, just a little bit. And then I'll probably work my way up to a 800, 400, 800, 1200, and then just finish off maybe with a 1250 micro mesh. And then we'll do a little bit of extra painting to make him slightly more mottled. I don't want to make him perfect because I still want to keep the base of this gold to stand out and make him be a bit more special, but we are going to add a little bit more texture to him as well, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So first of all, we take our 320, and you just want to take a little piece, and then we'll find out where it was there. And yes, you can sand onto paint. Let me just give a little gentle sand. Now when you're sanding, you want to work from the item which hasn't been had the milliput on to the bit which has. If you go the other way, you will end up with a ridge. And you just want to do this very gradually. Now he doesn't actually have too much of a ridge on him, so it's not too bad, but I just want to demonstrate this technique to you. As you can see, I'm just starting there. I don't need to do the point or any of the other unless I actually wanted to change the shape of it, which you can absolutely do. So we just need to do a little bit. I don't want to do too much. It doesn't need. I think it's more on that side. Now this sandpaper I use, they call it a wet and dry sandpaper. Personally, I've never used it on the wet. I've always used it on the dry. But if you have something which is a little bit tacky, I presume, you'd probably be fine to use it as well. I'm going to do a little bit here. Now, because this is a resin base, you don't want to be, scratching and scraping away too hard on that, but just a little bit. And then just a bit more on there. You don't always have to start from scratch, as I said before. As long as it's a piece you've done and you know what's underneath it, absolutely fine. Now, once we've done that, you don't need to do completely, it's just bits and pieces. We want to go on to the next one, so that's C350. So now we need to move on to, let's say, we're going to 400 for instance. So again, we take a tiny bit off the 400, and again, same principle, just start to sand. And each time the sandpaper gets finer and finer, the smoother the sanding will become. And then once we've done that, we just want to work up another level. That's fine. Right, so now we're going to go to the 800, and you just want to keep working your way literally up the grades. Now I can see it's slightly, it's not so coarse now compared to, say, something which is like this, which is extremely coarse. So we go back to that one. So if you can hear any snoring in the background, it's I have 3 dogs and they follow me everywhere. Sometimes they try to get into the videos, but usually you can just hear them. Right, then we've done that. I'm now going to move on to the 1000, which is actually quite fine. So I think this is the 1000. Oh, sorry, that's the 1200. Actually, I think a 1200 will do. That would be the finest. So that's even, 1200 is even finer than the 1000. So got the 1200. And we're just going to give it just a fine little sand. Now, once you've sanded, how you can tell by if it's smooth enough for you is, it's the easiest way to do it actually is to close your eyes and actually feel where you've been sanding, to feel if there's any ridges. For some reason, if you close your eyes, you're concentrating on that ridge rather than all the other things around you, so you get a better sort of feel for it and know whether, you know, if it's right. Now we're about there now, so that's fine. It's sanded. I'm very happy with the shape. We've sanded a little bit, as you can see there, but we've also sanded a little bit here on where he's got the resin, but that's fine, we'll blend him in. Right, so what you want to do now is get some kitchen roll, put it onto your table or workstation wherever you're working, because we are going to be using the liquid leaf. It's quite smelly, so I'd also recommend opening a window up and just give it, make sure it's closed first, and give it a bit of a shake. Now this stuff dries extremely quickly, so you do want to have some water, preferably with some washing liquid in there at hand, so you can put your paintbrush straight in, otherwise it will dry and that will be it, you'll be ruined. So we want to take our leaf. Now you don't need very much, as I say, we're going to have sort of mottled colours anyway, and just take it straight from there. Or actually, before I show you, old milk bottle tops, you could take some, dip it in, and just put it into the top, and then quickly close the lid, as I say, because it does dry quickly and it does seem to get everywhere. So we'll put him down there. Right, so we've got our liquid leaf in there. And I like to work in, you know, sort of just going up and just kind of blend him in. It doesn't have to be perfect because he's not perfect. He's got lots of different tones to him. Now this dries, as I say, extremely quickly, which is great for us because we want to add a bit of texture to him as well. Now you can do this various ways. You can use Q-tips, you can use ends of pencils. I find personally using the fingers is brilliant. So for instance, you know, he's got lots of texture. I don't know if you can see here. So with the gold, instead of just leaving it, let's just put him just down there. So instead of just leaving it, you could actually almost you know, use your finger and just give it a bit of texture because it's damp. You don't want it soaking wet. But if you just do that, obviously you want to make sure your fingers are nice and clean, but also make sure they're wash them afterwards. But I don't know if you can see that, it's just adding a bit of texture. It's not so flat and so smooth. You know, as I say, you could use things like, for instance, a cocktail stick and just add bits like that. You just don't want it so, see, a bit more mottly. Also, it takes off a little bit of the shine because, you know, he's got bits of shine, but it's not completely shiny. Now that's looking good. You can see it's sort of, it's gold, but it's got a bit of texture to him now. And if you do have the odd little line where it's not completely perfect, it will soon blend in when you add a little bit more texture. Right, so let's have a look at him. Quite pleased with that. Maybe a tiny bit more gold, and we'll add a little bit more, and then we're going to paint him in a bit more. So I don't even see the difference. So that's sort of one coat colour. And again, you know, once it's tacky, you can just give it a few taps. A tiny bit more there, just let him dry a little bit more. So while that's drying, I think what we do now is we're going to mix up the next two colours. Again, brush straight in the water. So the other colours I'm going to use, I think it needs a little bit of brown actually, maybe a tiny bit of black, but I still want to keep it gold, but just add a bit of a definition. So we've got a bit of brown here. Now this is a powder pigment and it's raw umber. Again, I would just take a little bottle top and we just want to add, it's a clean brush here, just a little bit into there. Now you could have him, I would actually add a bit of water to this, or you could add just a little bit, even better, ceramic glaze, because you want it to hold on and stick in, and you want it quite thick and tacky. You don't want it too watery, so if you're adding bits to this and it's all watery, it's going to, you know, sort of go into puddles. So we want it quite tacky and almost a speckle-like effect. I may not even go for the black, I might just add a tiny bit of this. So what we do is we add a bit of ceramic glaze. Now I do tend to, before I do say so, show you, is I do tend to put it into another jar as well. Unfortunately the jar is quite stuck, so for quickness I'm going to cheat. I do tend to use the end of the brush as well, just to add, so you just need just a tiny bit, just dollop that in, don't need much. Again, I'll put that straight into the water and put that into there. Again, we're using this, we're just going to use, you could use fingers or you could use a, let's have a look what we've got here. Again, cocktail stick, and I thought, no I haven't got it, or you could use, for instance, a cotton bud. We're just going to use the fingers, you know, let's go for it. You could actually do a little practice run on a piece of paper. So for instance, let's get some paper here, tiny bit of paper there, and you can just mottle it so you can see. You want it to be like that, so that's a really good consistency. It doesn't need to be perfect, so let's mottle it first, get some of that wetness off, and then let's just add just a bit of tone and texture to him. Now you don't want to overdo it, just bits and pieces at a time, there's no rush. Okay, add a little bit more. And just work all the way around. And this will blend in the old with the new. So he's still got the base of gold, but we're just kind of giving a bit more definition. So by using the ceramic glaze, it will hold in and it's not going to go anywhere with the colour, which is great. So I think that's kind of enough on the brown. Let's go a bit there. You know, if you overdo it and you think it's too much, just let it dry. And again, you can always just give it a light. You might be able to actually even just use a bit of water on a cotton bud. It might take it off, or you could sand down and start again. But can you see he's not so brilliant gold now? He's got some mottled tones to him. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of black, because he has got quite a bit of black, but I still want to keep the gold, but just add a bit of black to keep him a bit more interesting. So just wipe my hand there, my finger, and we will take another, here we go, one done earlier, another one here. Now I do have this black here, which is a Winsor & Newton acrylic, which is very smooth and is a fantastic colour. But because I want him kind of mottly with different textures, I do think a powder pigment would be better, because even if you have a bit of the pigment in there, and you know, it's slightly more rough rather than completely smooth. So I think I'm going to use the powder pigment. So again, let's take a fresh brush and we just take a tiny bit of the black and add it in. Again, we don't need too much. Again, this lasts forever and ever. I've had this black for around 15, 12 years, something like that, and I'm only halfway through. And then we want to take the ceramic glaze, again, the trusted bottle top, and then just add a bit of glaze from the, I was cheat, do the end, just add a bit of ceramic glaze into there. Perfect. And always make sure you close the ceramic glaze up straight away, otherwise, you know, it does dry very quickly, as demonstrated on here, and then you can't open the lid. Perhaps some hot water on there, actually. I'll do that later. So let's I'll just add a bit of that ceramic glaze from there. Again, I'm just going to mix it, just go for it. There's so many different techniques you can do depending on the item and the effect you're after. Again, let's have a look, practice, get rid of some of that. I don't want it too loopy. I quite like doing things like this. It's almost like going back to school. So here we are, here he is. So let's just try him there a little bit more. Just little bits. You know, you can smidge it in a bit, do all sorts. There's no hard and fast rules. So if you sort of smidged it in, it kind of can blend in a bit as well. Let's do that way there, if you can see. Now, this is going to roughly take, the gold doesn't take very long to dry, but with the paint, again, because we're hardly doing anything, we're just adding bits of texture and tone to him. He's literally drying within seconds. And you can just keep building up to as much as you want. As I say, no hard and fast rules. You know, and if you can go back to it half an hour later, and if you think you need to knock it back or add more texture, go for it. Now I'm liking that. Is, you know, we've still got the gold, which is what my client wanted, but we're just adding a, it's not complete gold, we've added some texture and a couple of different tones with the brown, the raw umber, and also with the black. Tiny bit there. There we go. So there we are. His gold, he's got some different tones to him now. As I say, you know, you can knock things back, you can add bits too. but it's looking pretty good. Just go all the way around, maybe just a tiny bit more there, smidge. As I say, a little bit dark there, but that's fine. What we can do, you can always go back to a bit of gold, might be even a bit of gold still left. Let's have a look, a tiny bit on my finger. And you can just always knock a bit back like that, can you see? So, you know, if you have a spare amount and you think, oh, I've done a bit too much, it's a bit blocky there, it's not exactly what I wanted, just get your finger and just, you know, add bits and just give a smidge. You know, if you want to soften it, if there's any hard lines, again, use your finger, smudge it. Maybe a tiny bit there, again, on the gold, and then just smudge it in. So it's got texture, but is there. And you can just keep building and building up, which actually I love this part. It's my bit I love. Can you see I've just done that? So I've just built him up. So he's still got his tones, but he is just blended in a bit more. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I thought I'd just do another stage and just show you just a few different techniques you can use. Again, doesn't have to be porcelain or china. It could be on a piece of bronze with a missing piece which you fixed, or it could be on something like this. You know, just try different materials and have a play and just experiment. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. Again, please subscribe, please like and please share, and I'll see you on the next one. And I'll go and wash my hands now. Okay, bye.